During such turbulent times, it's easy to question the reason for things being the way they are. Today, we'll be ditching the why and asking how. How can we find reason within? And more importantly, how can we be the reason? Let's discuss. Today, I welcome the music and mind of country singer-songwriter Stephanie Ryan and Rochester, New York guest entrepreneur, author, editor, podcast host Tyra Polland. I'm Amanda Ashley, and this is Afternoon Cocktail, episode 78, Reason. Welcome. And the beautiful Miss Stephanie Ryan, welcome to Afternoon Cocktail. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. You're hailing from Maine today, right?
I am.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to speak with you. What song are you going to kick us off with?
I figured since it's all about reason today, I would start off with my song For a Reason that came out almost a year ago, back in February 2020. So I figured I'd start with that. So this is For a Reason.
Perfect.
Her eyes meet across the room. I know where this road is leading to. Might be wrong, but feels so right. Inside myself as I give in to you tonight. The moment when it all begins. I feel your breath and I just breathe you in. I feel it taking over me. A simple touch turns to a memory. Heart to heart, skin on skin. Where you end is where I begin. I'm not sorry for who we've been. Everything happens for a reason.
It looks like we froze a little bit there, which is a shame. Stephanie, maybe you'll come back to us when you can. So, Katira, are you hanging out here listening?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, that was a bummer. I was just getting into my groove.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll rejoin us shortly.
I think so too. Well, let's talk for a little bit. Welcome to Afternoon Cocktail. Thanks so much for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to
Yeah,
be here.
I'm really excited to have you. You blow my mind with all the things you do. Can you introduce to our audience, just give us a little introduction about who you are and what it is that you do?
For sure. My name is Tyra Polland. I am the CEO of Love for Words, which is an editing boutique. So I work with authors to help them transform their manuscripts into books. I primarily do developmental and nonfiction editing. If you want to know more about that, you can visit my website. I won't go too deep into it, but I'm also an author. I'm also a poet. I've published 8 books now. I also have a podcast, Editor Knows Best, and I interview other authors and editors and literary creatives to talk about their experiences and get advice for our listeners about how they can have a good journey to becoming an author.
I love it. So I think it's funny because I was listening to your podcast. I mean, are writers really that intimidated by editors?
Some of them are. Some of them are. I've encountered a few who are. A lot of them are afraid that the editor will remove their voice. So I mean, I can understand that. As an author, I also work with an editor when I publish my books, so I get it and I understand that. I understand the fear, but for me, what I do is I have a consultation up front where we discuss the book. I get to know a little bit more about the author, what they're looking for, to make sure that we're a good fit. So the most important part of editing is the relationship, not the actual editing. So you want to make sure that it's a good match, not just for the author, but also for the editor. So that piece is really what brings you the most success, is making sure that you have that strong relationship up front, and authenticity, being honest. And I provide words of encouragement, but I think that that is what you need to focus on more so than if they'll remove your voice, because during that opening consultation you can inquire about that and make sure that that won't be an issue.
Sure. I think that's interesting. I mean, I would imagine you would have to have a good relationship, because I think as artists, well, it's interesting because you're an artist and both an editor. So that kind of works in your favor, right? And
Absolutely.
exactly, probably have a better stronghold on what you're looking for in another editor, or
For
already
sure.
made those connections. But
Definitely.
yeah, as artists, I think we're very protective of our work, So like, and I know that as a songwriter, I mean, I'm so interested. Your podcast was great. I really listened to a bunch
Thank
of
you.
them. And it's interesting for anybody out there who's aspiring to do more with their writing. I definitely check out Katira. Can you tell us a little bit more about your podcast? It's called Editor Knows Best.
Yes, editor knows best. So again, I talk about different writing topics. So the authors come on and they'll share their experience with their publisher, how they found their editor, how they found their graphic designer, whether they encountered writer's block, how they overcame it, their favorite parts of the writing process, their least favorite, recommendations for our listeners who tend to be either new or even current authors who might be struggling. So they'll give their advice to help you through that journey. They give, the motivations behind why they write their books. They tell us about their target market, those who influence their writing, their favorite authors and writers. So we really, it's personal slash book related. So again, if you are a current or aspiring author or writer, feel free to tune in to Editor Knows Best. It airs on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And if you're interested in being a guest, of course, you can get in touch with me as well.
And how often does it air?
It's every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be tuning in more. I've been trying to take my writing a little bit more serious, especially during quarantine. Like I just realized I've always been a songwriter. Actually, I've always been a writer. Like I've been writing since I was a kid. It was always um, my first form of expression. When did you realize that you were a writer?
Yes, I wrote my first poem in middle school. So much like yourself, I did start writing very young, and I've always loved to read. I used to do the school contest where you get the free personal pan after you've read X number of books. So I've always loved reading. I used to read when I was in elementary. I would read to like the students who are a grade down from me. So I've always loved reading, and that flowed right into writing. And obviously, editing is connected to that. So I've um, been been interested in literacy for a long time now.
Yeah, I remember just like growing up, I always struggled very hard with like math and sciences, but I couldn't wait to get to creative writing
Right.
classes or just English. Any opportunity for me to like really express myself, even do write an essay is like I love that. And yeah, it's funny. You don't consider, like, now that I'm doing what I do, I think back to all of this and I'm like, oh yeah, like I really was doing it so much earlier on than I remembered
Right.
before. You're such a networker.
Yeah.
I love how you are so connected with the writers community, and you're a real shining example of somebody who just does what they love, and you could tell that you're living your passion.
Thank you.
Um, so I mean, why do you believe it's important for aspiring published writers to surround themselves with a company of other writers?
Um, for inspiration, but also for education. If you're a new writer, obviously you have a lot to learn, and that doesn't just apply to new writers, even current authors, myself included. We have a lot to learn as well. So it's really important to broaden your horizons, make sure that you're doing your research and that you're open to feedback. Again, it is your book, so you have the final say. At least if you're, self-publishing, I'll say that much. So you don't have to take everyone's advice, but there's nothing wrong with listening and gleaning what you can from different situations, from different publishers or other professionals. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, educating yourself and getting more knowledge. It can only make you better. The more you know, the better you'll be able to be at writing, and also have a smoother transition if you are self-publishing or using a hybrid publisher. So I would recommend that not only to writers, but everyone, whatever profession you're in, or even if you're taking up a hobby. There are so many different resources available for you to get information. There's really no excuse for you not to take advantage and access those resources.
100%. I think if you surround yourself with the best, you only become better,
Right,
right?
right.
So I think it's really important. I know this from the music community here in Rochester, like going to open mics and
Hmm.
supporting each other's open mics and, like just kind of networking your way around the community and seeing who the people are to pay attention to and what they're doing. And we have so much to learn from one another. It's amazing.
Definitely.
So aside from your work, I mean, you're involved in the community as part of Rochester Black Authors Association, Rochester Young Professionals, Rock City Coalition, court appointed special advocates. I mean, how do you do all this? First of all, you are a superwoman. Um, how do you budget your time so that you tend to these things that are obviously important to you, but not only just be a member, take
Right.
on board positions?
For
Do
sure.
you
The number one tip I have is time management. That's how it gets done. So I include all of my meetings or events, sessions, workshops, interviews like this, podcasts, whatever it is. Everything goes into my Google Calendar because I can set timers so that I get reminders, so that the likelihood of me forgetting, significantly decreases. So that's how I do it. Just making sure that everything goes right into the calendar. I can pick up my phone quickly or go on my laptop and see, what I have planned for the day. So that works very well for me. Some people I know they use the physical agendas. I don't do that. I used to when I was younger, but I've moved away from physical calendars. But find something that works for you. Like I even sometimes text myself. So like if I don't know, in the grocery store or something, an idea comes, I'll text myself, or if I'm in bed and something comes up before I fall asleep, I'll text it to myself. So it's just a matter of figuring out how you best learn, how you best organize, and deciding what works for you, and sticking with that once you see the results that you want.
definitely. How has your community involvement benefited you personally and professionally?
So personally, even I mean, some of the boards that I've served on, I've been able to make friends with, either fellow board members or at events I've hosted for Rochester Young Professionals. I've met people that way, and we've become really close friends. I've learned a lot from, the people that I've met out in the community. I actually came off of the Rochester Young Professionals board last year, so I'm no longer serving, but there were so many opportunities to connect with people while I was on the board and, involved in that capacity, that I still am friends with today. So that's how it impacted me personally. I've gotten a lot of advice from those people from that I now call friends, and been able to network with them and connect with them in other capacities. So that's been awesome. And of course, professionally, I've, been able to meet a lot of people that I see as mentors, people that may see me as mentors. Like I was able to get the Rochester Business Journal 40 under 40, and I do believe that is tied to the things that I've done in the community with Rochester Young Professionals, Rochester Black Authors Association. We have an annual expo where we feature not only local and national, but also international Black authors. So I definitely see the professional value in being connected on these boards, and getting referrals, and also more importantly giving referrals. Being able to volunteer in the community, and if I need something, I have that professional network that came from volunteering or being on a board that I can call on in times of need, and vice versa. A lot of the people that I've met in those board circles or community circles will reach out to me and ask me questions or ask me for, recommendations and things like that. So I've definitely seen positive, personal and professional outcomes, based on my community engagement.
I mean, you're obviously somebody who enjoys being on the go and having your mind occupied. Right? And I dig that
Definitely.
because I'm the same way. But I mean, what was your reaction when we started getting shut down and COVID started becoming a real thing here for us? How have you coped with all of this?
Yeah, to be honest, when it first happened, I didn't take it very seriously. I thought it was something that would subside fairly quickly. So I was actually very blessed and also lucky. I had my book signing that week at Writers and Books. It was March 11th, and then March 13th is when all the shutdown happened. So I was kind of coming off a high. There were a lot of people who came out to support me. I also partnered with another local author, but a lot of my family and friends came out. I sold out all of the books that I had. So I was super excited, that week, of course. And then 2 days later, the shutdown started happening and had to start working from home. And, I actually made a joke of it because my birthday is in August. And I'm like, well, I hope this is over by my birthday because I want to travel. So when it first happened, I didn't see the seriousness and didn't realize how impactful it would be on the world. But as time has progressed, I definitely have seen the seriousness. I know, unfortunately, a lot of people, have died from COVID. A lot of people are suffering from COVID, and not just those who died, but the people that they left behind. And for me personally, it got tough a few months in because, as you said, I do like to be on the go. I love going to conferences and workshops and panels, and all those professional development events came to a halt. So it was a transition for me not to be able to go to those events and have to do them virtually on Zoom. So I felt I was frustrated, maybe in the, I don't know, 3 4 months in, I was just like, oh, this is really tough. I want to go to an event, but obviously I need to protect myself and protect other people. But as far as coping with it, I mean, like I said, I'm, working on a lot more manuscripts. And for me, I love editing. So it doesn't feel like work to me. So I've been doing that. And then working on, other projects, the Write, Wine, and Quarantine magazine, which features 5 women talking about their experience during COVID. I'm working on publishing that special edition magazine, and just creating different content. The podcast, I started that in March, which is right when we were going into shutdown mode. So that's another way that I guess, coped with it, and finding ways that I can share content and encourage people, encourage myself, and not feel so down and discouraged, even though we were going through a deadly pandemic.
Yeah, I found that keeping myself busy, like I mean this show is really this it started like as a quarantine side hustle and it's amounted to become so much more,
Right, for sure.
but yeah, whatever helps you get through these times, for me it was like I wanted to keep myself busy. I need engagement from people,
Right, right.
recognizing the things you need, and I kind of just wrapped it up in a bow with the show. But
Mhm.
did you find yourself more inspired to write or less inspired or just kind of a matter of or both?
Um, I would probably say less, just because again I saw an uptick in clients in
Yeah.
editing manuscripts. So one of the things which is probably interesting is I don't do a whole lot of personal reading, just because I read so much in my business. I don't get around to doing it personally. And I will also say that I've been very blessed and lucky with all the clients that I've worked with. I've enjoyed all of the manuscripts. So that kind of fills that void of pleasure reading because I enjoy the manuscripts that I'm editing for my clients. So in regards to writing, um, I mean, I have silos of writing. So I have to have like a spark of inspiration for me to write. It's not something I do like on a daily basis. So even with like my book of poetry, Dear August, Love August, that was released in March, there was like a burst of inspiration for me to write. And I wrote like 10 poems on a flight to Atlanta. And then I didn't write another poem for quite some time. And a lot of the poems in my book are from high school. So again, it's not something I'm doing. Creative writing is not like a daily thing for me. It's just sporadic. So I didn't see an increase or decrease. My writing, as far as personal writing, there wasn't really a change as to if I was doing it less or more. It stayed the same.
That's kind of funny to think about it because I mean, one of my questions was going to be like, what books do you read? But
Hmm.
that makes sense. I guess it's like a cook,
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
you're a professional chef, the last thing you want to do is go home and cook yourself a meal, right? So that's funny to think about. I mean, so one of your projects throughout this, you started a magazine called
Yes.
Write Wine and Quarantine. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that?
Yes, so Wine and Quarantine was originally going to be an anthology, but I didn't have enough contributors, so I decided to downsize it and make it a one-time special edition magazine. So it features five local women who talk about their experiences during COVID. So some of them are poems, some of them are short stories. There's a variation. Shannon Spruill, Rain Christie, Sarah Collins, Latoya Palmo, and Nancy Steinkemp are the five featured women in the magazine. We're in the final stages of revision, so it will be released soon. We've been working on it for a little bit, but I wanted to create a space for women to feel comfortable talking about the changes that have happened, whether they you know, have had to move out of homes due to someone having COVID, or now they're working from home and that's a new world for them, or they lost someone to COVID. So between the five women, they cover the gamut of experiences, feelings, emotions that everyone feels, but of course from the perspective of a woman. So I wanted to present that opportunity for us to share that with each other and also share that with the world. So it will be available for download, but there will also be physical copies of the magazine. So again, you can stay in the know with that if you visit my website, polandllc.com. There's more details about that on the website as well. And there's actually an episode that features the five women on the Editor Knows Best podcast. So you can take a listen and hear what they have to say about writing, their contributions to the magazine.
So awesome. I love that you do all this.
Mhm.
And for our audience back home listening, if you have any questions, maybe you're an aspiring writer, we do have our video feed going right now on Facebook. Hello, David Stafford, Christine, and Lee. Thank you for tuning in. Um, so, Katira, I mean, you've accomplished so much. What are you most proud of accomplishing?
So last year, I was actually able to launch Literacy Love, which is a scholarship. It was for high school seniors, but I ended up awarding, it was for high school students, but I ended up awarding two high school seniors with funds to pay for materials and books and whatever else they might need to go to college for the semester. I didn't imagine that I'd be able to launch my scholarship for at least another 3 to 5 years. So to be able to do that last year, that was definitely my greatest accomplishment. And I was actually able to help a non-traditional student as well. So there were three students who benefited from that scholarship. And that was with the help of Atomic Grants. I received a grant and I used part of the funds for the scholarship. So that is what I'm most proud of. Again, I understand and appreciate the importance of literacy, and I want our youth and young people to also know how important it is to be able to read and write well, or at least have the resources to do, to read and write well. So it was very important for me to start the scholarship. It's going to be annual. So that is the most important thing that I've done in the last year. Overall, my greatest accomplishment, I would say, is starting my business. I started my first business in 2011, Career Prep, and I focused on resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles. I've transitioned that now. I still have the Facebook page, but I've of course moved away from that, and now Love for Words is my primary business. But I believe that starting my business gives other people, specifically women, inspiration, or it lets them know that they can do it too. So for me, that was my greatest accomplishment. My neither of my parents were like official business owners, so it's something that I ventured out on my own. I've always wanted to take charge of myself, of my future, of my present, and do what I want to do. And I am proud when I can pursue my goals and dreams regardless of what other people may think of me, may not think of me, etc. So I want to encourage other women and other people in general to do what your heart tells you to do, even if no one else agrees. So that's what I recommend.
That's sure is a beautiful thing. Us women need to, always be fixing each other's crowns. So you're a beautiful example of a hard worker and somebody who's passionate and, empowerment. Good for you. And awesome for doing what you're doing for the youth. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
doing that. I think it is important, for these kids to be able to write, express themselves the way they should, especially in times like this, where anybody, and with some of I teach on the side and some of my students, I've been doing some songwriting with, and, I just say to them, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody but you. Write what you feel, empty, just empty the contents inside, and you'll feel so much better in the
For
end.
sure.
So, yeah, just write a little something each day. It doesn't have to be so prolific, it's for you. Um, there's one message you could give to all those aspiring artists and writers out there. What piece of advice would you like to leave them with?
I would just say keep going. And you saying that it's important to write for yourself. Not everybody aspires to be a published writer or author, and that's fine. I mean, that's where journaling comes in, or if you want to use post-it notes or whatever, helps you, get through whatever challenges that you have, just keep going. Just don't give up. And sometimes that's easier said than done, but once you've gone through the trenches and you've gotten over the mountains and hills, you come out better for it. And it's always worth it in the end, like exercise, right? It's not necessarily fun in the moment, but when you see the results, it's all worth it. So I encourage everyone to just continue to pursue your goals and dreams, even when it's difficult.
Yeah, 100%. Katara, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I
Thank
hope
you.
when one day when I write my first book, I'm coming to you to edit.
Okay.
So thank you for
Thank you.
being on our show. What tell our audience one more time where they could be located to your services.
Yes, so you can visit my website, polandllc.com. My books are there. You can learn more about my podcast, Right Wine in Quarantine, any other upcoming projects. I'll be sharing more information about the scholarship soon as the next round for this year is coming up. So again, that's polandllc.com. I also have Twitter and Instagram. My handle is at polandllc, so you can follow me there. And I also have Facebook, facebook.com/Poland LLC.
I love it. Thank you, Katara. Make
Thank
sure you
you.
check her out. Love for Words on Facebook, like her page. And yeah,
Thank you.
Stephanie, welcome back. We lost you for a second.
It's nice to be back.
We were worried. I was like, oh no. But I'm glad
I
you
was
made it
worried.
back
It
here.
shut off, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Uh,
Scrambling around
it
trying to get it
happens.
back on.
It happens. I'm glad you're here. So, Stephanie, you started playing for us your song for a reason. Can you tell us a little bit about what that song means to you?
Absolutely. So I wrote that song when I was in New York City with a friend of mine named Stephen Bartlett, and he actually produced the song as well. But we both sat down wanting to write a song, and that title kind of came out of nowhere, and we're like, all right, let's start with the title and see where this takes us. And when we were writing it, and what the storyline is really about is kind of this forbidden love that you want to go for, and you know that you probably shouldn't, but you're going to go for it anyways. And it's because everything happens for a reason. There's got to be a reason of why you want to be with this person, and take the time to get to know them in some way, shape, or form. And then maybe it backfires and you have heartache from it, but that's okay because it all happens for a reason. So that's the background and impetus of the song.
What do you think? Well, today's theme is in your honor because of this song. When I was listening through your work, I was like, you know, Everything for happens for a reason is like my mom's favorite thing to say. And I say it all the time too, and I really do believe it. And it applies to a lot of different situations. As it pertains to relationships, what do you believe the reason for people being brought into our life is?
I think it varies. Um, People can come in and out of your life to, spread joy, to give you some sort of a hurt so that you learn from that. Like, there's always the like doing positive things and the negative, and you learn from everything. And I just think everyone kind of comes in and out, and situations happen for a reason. What that reason is, I don't know. And sometimes I don't want to know. But I do think that everything does happen for a reason. Like your mom's favorite saying, it does. And who knows what it is? But figuring it out is also kind of like a fun piece of it.
And sometimes it takes a while to figure it out, and we meet some amazing people in our lives. Some people we meet people at birth, right? We meet people in our youth, in different stages of our lives, and you take the good from those experiences. Like I think I've come to realize over time that not everybody is meant to be in your life forever. They, even if they've served your life for 1 year and it was a beautiful year and you created beautiful memories, leave it at that. I don't know. I'm starting to think a lot about that, like with relationships lately. But yeah, I just feel like that everything happens for a reason, comes in a lot of different forms, like COVID. Like this has brought a lot of darkness for people and for us all. It's been, it's trauma. Like we're all trying to figure out our lives in a lot of ways. But I think there is a silver lining, and there's a lot of reason that'll come out of this in the future, whether we see it now or not. It's getting frustrating, but down the line, I think this is going to change a lot of things and a lot of people's perspectives, and a lot of careers are going to be built, and different career paths are going to be taken. It's crazy.
And I
Tell
totally
us more about you. I mean, so you were born in Connecticut, but you've moved around quite a bit, right?
Yeah, so I was born in Connecticut for a hot second there, and then I grew up in Westchester County in New York. Moved to Connecticut about 6 years ago, and then I moved to Maine about 2.5 months ago. So it has been a little bit of a whirlwind with that. When I'm talking about it now, it sounds like a lot, but it's been over so many years. But yeah, now I'm in Maine. It's not snowy like it is in your background today. It's nice and sunny out, so we're enjoying some nice weather here.
Nice. Maine is so beautiful. I'd love to revisit there again sometime. So when did you first start songwriting, and how did you discover country music?
So I grew up listening to a lot of different types of music. My mom was in a band before she had a bunch of us kids. I'm one of four. And we all kind of listened to similar but different things. So I've gotten introduced to a lot of different genres going through the years. And country music always struck me as something, it always spoke to me. Like, it's hard to even describe. When you just kind of hear a certain type of music and you're just like, that is me. Like, that embodies everything about me.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what I felt about country music. It's the stories and the songs that people are saying, the vocal of everyone singing. I'm very in tune with the vocal part of it. I just taught myself guitar over COVID, so I'm
Wow.
singer first, and songwriter, but musician kind of second. Um, but it's been a crazy time.
I love it. And so you've actually, some of our afternoon cocktail alums. So you've worked with Elliot Lewis,
Hmm.
who I love. Elliot's a sweetheart. And then also Lauren Davidson was a guest on our show. And you've opened for her, correct?
Oh, we did a show. There was three of us, me, Lauren, and another girl. Um, Gosh, when was it? 2018, I think it might have been. That we all did a show together. She was last to perform, I believe. But that was in New York City, which was really cool. She put it together and everything, and she's an awesome girl. We're good friends and chat all the time. But it was really awesome to kind of work with her. And then for Elliot, I've known him a long, long time now, and he and I actually wrote one of my songs, Travelers. He produced it as well, so he and I chat quite often as well. And my first guitar actually was his previous guitar that he owned. So
Oh, wow. Elliot,
yeah.
yeah, he's such a nice man. Like really cool guy and so talented.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. I'm always kind of bouncing ideas off of him, and chatting back and forth about music and about what he's doing, and certain little things that can kind of up my game, especially on the musician side, because he is such a multi instrumentalist and talented musician that I definitely learn a lot from him.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I could only imagine. What do you ever see yourself maybe flocking down south, going towards Music City with your country music, or you think you'll stay on the East Coast?
I would love to move down there at some point. I was pre-COVID traveling down there once a month to network and write with a lot of different people, and I'm thankful that I got that opportunity before COVID started, because although we can do Zoom writes and all that kind of stuff, it kind of be hard to find people to work with when you've never been.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that ability. But yeah, it would be nice to get down there. I think it's kind of nice to not be there all the time, because it kind of gives you a different perspective. All of my friends down there are amazing, and I love being down there. The energy is just, it just makes you want to work harder. And being up here and being away from that kind of gives you just a little bit of a different perspective that you can kind of bring back to the table and bring to different co-writes, so that you're all not kind of witnessing the same things. It's all different in different areas. So I think it helps not being down there, but I would love to be down there more often. Hopefully soon, when it's easier to travel and less scary.
I know it's hard to say for right now, but I actually think there's a lot of benefits to having a good hard excuse to go back and forth to Nashville as opposed to just running there. As a musician, because you could kind of tour your way there, and hit different stops more frequently along the way and build a bigger network, I think, by doing shows and performing shows all over than just staying in one place and kind of invest in all your cookies. But maybe not. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not a
no,
big
I
Nashville
agree with you.
singer-songwriter.
I totally agree with you. Being able to be in two places, and three maybe. I mean, my family still lives in New York, and I'm in Maine. I've got family in Connecticut, so I can kind of bounce around a little bit easier, which is nice, kind of on the way down. And like you said, it's easy to kind of grow your network a little bit bigger when you have the opportunity to be in more than one space. Had I just been in Nashville, then I wouldn't have the opportunity to play up in Maine as easily as I have over the summertime. I was out busking and performing shows online, so it's been good, and it's nice to have that trade off.
Yeah, I definitely think so. So tell us a little bit about your song, Nights Like These. It recounts life before the pandemic. What perspective has this pandemic brought you?
Well, it's it's hard to say, right? Because you don't want to ever come across um, not being sensitive to what's going on in the world today. I think COVID's been awful in so many ways. With jobs and with families and health. And on the positive side of it, I can pull so many things away from, if this hadn't happened, these other things wouldn't have occurred. And kind of going back to what we were saying before, everything happens for a reason. Um, Although I don't know what the reason is yet for this, there are those negatives, and there's also positives. I would never have been able to teach myself guitar as quickly as I did if I wasn't forced into it, kind of due to COVID. I bought my guitar in January with the intention to start teaching myself, and then once the pandemic hit and everything shut down, I saw all of my friends going live and playing and singing at the same time. I didn't play an instrument, so I kind of was at a deficit. And I threw myself into that, which was really helpful. And it's also helped my songwriting. Nights Like These is actually the first song that I've ever written on guitar on my own. So that was
Yay.
a really big win for me. And just, you know, thinking back to the times before COVID, it kind of made that song very easy to write. When I sat down to do it, I was down in Virginia actually trying to escape the craziness of COVID in Connecticut. And I woke up one morning thinking, you know, I really miss life before this happened. And the song just kind of came out, flowed. I think I wrote it in 2 hours maybe, brought it to
Those
my
are the
publisher,
best.
and then the rest is kind of history. We got that song done in a week, and I got it out because I just really wanted to give people some hope and just like a fun, more upbeat song to listen to while we're all sitting at home.
Yeah. I wonder how much I had mentioned this before, but just so do you actually recorded that yourself, or do you have like your own recording? Like, are you equipped to record yourself?
So I technically am equipped to record myself, but this song was produced by my producer down in Nashville. And thankfully, due to all of the internet stuff that we have going on here, we were able to kind of go back and forth. So I sent him a work tape of the song and kind of some ideas of how I wanted it to sound. He created the track, sent it back up to me. I recorded the vocals at home and then sent them back down to him. So it was like a very COVID style of recording a song.
Yeah, it's interesting how, that end of talking just like collaboration, right? Working with people remotely like this. And how, I wonder like what if this might spark some like weird genre of music, or if it's going to bring back like singer-songwriters, like think of like the Dylan age, you got Bob Dylan and like the Joni Mitchell and even like Carole King, like all those like more like solo, I guess Carole King doesn't really fit into that, but like those folky type artists, solo singer-songwriters, everything kind of stripped down. I wonder if we're going to get a touch of that back, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of this.
I'm sure we will. I think that there's going to be a lot more like live stream concerts. I have to say, I really can't wait to be able to perform live in front of people. But at the same token, we now have this ability, and so many people are doing it, that it kind of opens up a lot more opportunity for everyone. You can host the Zoom concert and have people from all over the world join in, as opposed to just being in one spot putting on a show. So I think there's going to be a solid mix of actual live performances and live stream performances.
Yeah, it is crazy the reach that, I mean, are you familiar with the band AJR?
Mm-mm.
They're a pop band. I bet if you YouTube them, like you would know their songs. They're like radio friendly right now. But they're three brothers. They're out of New York City. They were all street performers and they are really fantastic to watch. And my boyfriend, well, Beau bought tickets for their live stream concert. And the way they did it was really so groundbreaking and interesting to watch. And it was almost like, in some ways it's weird, right? Because like we don't know how long this is going to continue on and when the next time we're actually going to be like what being at a live concert's going to be like. Like I had tickets to Bonnaroo this summer that vanished into thin air. But like I think about like what are festivals going to look like moving forward, even with a vaccination, right? Like things are going to be different. So how are artists eventually going to have to keep moving forward and to perform, And their presentation was really interesting. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is a night at one concert venue, you have a venue that most likely could hold, thousands of people, right? They had 20,000 people tune in from all over the world. And that's not the right number, but it was around there. And
Like 20 million.
it's 20 million, 20 million. Sorry. See, thank you, Beau. 20 million people, you know, all on one performance tuned in and from all over the world. And that's just mind blowing to think of,
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a totally different perspective, and I think we would have gotten here at some point, but I don't think it would have happened now, where people have kind of figured out that you can stream everything, and the people who have the means to do it can do a full on plugged in concert with different angles of cameras, or you do something like this where you're just kind of unplugged acoustic, which I think is also really cool.
Yeah, yeah, I like both sides of it too. I think it's really cool. What
Mm-hmm.
2021 goals do you wish to fulfill?
So I'm hoping that COVID is going to, subside as much as possible so that I can be performing live. I'd love to be traveling back down to Nashville so that I can actually
Oh,
record the songs that I'm doing with my producer in his studio, but also just continue to network. And
Oh, Stephanie, you just got muted.
how did I get muted, Beau?
Oh, sorry.
No, I just think that we have more of an opportunity now to go forth and do different things. I want to be hosting Zoom concerts. I want to be out and about performing. I kind of just want to grasp at as much as I can music wise. Writing with a lot more people and being able to travel will help that. So I want to be able to get out there more and just really continue to hone my craft, play more guitar, so that I can get better at that as well. So I've got a lot of goals for 2020. Record deal would be cool too, but like
Of course.
that's all for the stars.
No, you'll get there. You'll get it. Keep at it, girl. You're doing great, and your music's beautiful. You're beautiful. Thank you for being on our show. Can you tell our audience where they could listen to your tracks and learn more about you?
Absolutely. You guys can all find me on Instagram mostly. I'm super active on there. That's at Stephanie Ryan Music. I'm also on Facebook, TikTok, although I'm not great on that, so I don't know about it. But my website is www.stephanieryan.com. You can find all of my music there. Also on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. I have a bunch of videos. I actually have a new music video coming out next month for my new single. So keep an eye out for that. And also join my mailing list because I send out emails every couple of weeks just to update people, but then to allow you guys more of an in depth look at kind of behind the scenes and what I'm working on and special discounts and all that kind of stuff. So you guys can head on over to my website to do that.
Perfect, Stephanie. And what are you gonna close us out with?
I figured since we were talking about it, I would close us out with Nights Like These.
Perfect.
Remember when we'd kiss our mamas and hug our dads? It's crazy how the little things get taken so fast. Wish we could go back in time to the good old days. Back to simpler times, yeah, we had it made. Whether it's neon lights or fireflies, old dirt roads or highway drives, living life the way we want. A champagne glass or plastic cup, a big old crowd or just the two of us. It's been so long and I'm begging, please. I'd give anything for more nights like these. Miss those summer nights we used to spend downtown. All the times we'd hang with friends before the world turned upside down. Wish I never took for granted all the things we do. Should've thanked my lucky stars I could go where I wanted to. Whether it's neon lights or fireflies, old dirt roads or highway drives, living life the way we want. A champagne glass or plastic cup, a big old crowd or just the two of us. It's been so long and I'm begging, please. I'd give anything for more nights like these. We're all a little lost, ain't that to highway drives, living life the way we want. A champagne glass, a plastic cup, a big old crowd, or just the two of us. It's been so long and I'm on my knees. I'd give anything for more nights like these. I'd give anything for more nights like these.
Beautiful, Stephanie. I love that one. Thank you so much for sharing your music with us today. And big thank you again to Ms. Tyra Polland for sharing your insight and wisdom with us as well. Today's theme was reason. The words, everything happens for a reason, as I mentioned earlier, was a regular phrase repeated throughout the course of my life. I swear it's my mother's mantra to this day. And as I've experienced my shares of ups and downs in life, I found this phrase often to be proven true. These days, with so much going on in the world, it's a little bit more difficult to find the reason why things are the way they are and why people are treating one another the way they have been. Instead of focusing on the why things occur or are the way they are, let's take a moment to reflect on how we can find reason and how we can be the reason. I believe that people are put into our lives to inspire us and to show us our greater potential, to bring levity and light to a dark situation, to teach us our boundaries and which characteristics we like to mirror or avoid, to nurture us with love, comfort, and compassion, to bring our value to our attention, and for us to realize how we deserve to be treated. I believe that heartbreak and adversities are set in our path to challenge our strength, to show us our greater purpose, to help us level up, and to force us to reevaluate our wants, needs, and how we can lead a more balanced existence. As always, it is not my intention to push my beliefs on anyone, but to make you all think about what growth can stem from each of our individual experiences and how that growth can positively impact those around us. Be the reason someone else changes for the better. Be the reason someone discovers that spark within. Be the reason why someone pursues their life path more confidently. Be the reason why someone decides to pay it forward. Be the reason why someone feels inspired. Be the reason someone smiles today. We have so much good to offer one another, so take a breath and realize your potential and spread good energy. Thank you for tuning in to Afternoon Cocktail. Afternoon Cocktail is now available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we're there. Please go download our previous episodes and be kind to each other and keep spreading good energy. Big thank you to Beau Productions. Shout out to James Farley of Northwestern Mutual and to Maiden Voyage Studios in Fairport. Thanks to our show sponsors, Rochester Woman Online, Bridgett Hoag of Empire Realty, Chris Sirianniat at IT Insights Rochester, and Blades Events and Catering. I wish you all an amazing weekend. Be good to yourselves and see you on Monday. Thank you.